How is it possible that Justin Trudeau is so high in the polls? The economy is precarious. We've had massive unemployment for over a year because of the lockdowns. It's still 8.2% unemployment. It's actually up from last month. How did that happen? It's going in the wrong direction. And worse than that, the labor participation rate fell, which means fewer people are even trying to find work. National debt's at an all-time high, of course, and now inflation is coming back. Housing prices are high economically. I think we're in trouble. Part of that is because Trudeau refuses to open the border with the United States, refuses to normalize Canadian industry, even though the pandemic has receded. So on top of the economic malaise and the growing risk of inflation, we have violations of civil liberties. We have massive stress because we're not allowed to live like humans need to live. And we're being propagated with a constant message of fear. This new variant, that new mutation. Add to that scripted panic, the opposite approach with vaccines, downplaying any risks, changing the health rules to obviously cover up for political mismanagement, lack of supply. It's a very stressful time in Canada because of the lockdowns. And then there's the general animosity that Trudeau and his cabinet have whipped up. Anti-Alberta sentiment that's leading to frustration and separatism there. Deliberate strategies to create discord along lines of race and sex and sexuality and between Aboriginal and non-Aboriginal Canadians. Demonizing any of his opponents as hateful and now bringing in censorship laws to silence opponents. My point is, you'd think that would be some fodder for the opposition. But I guess other than the pandemic, that was the case for Andrew Scheer too. And back then in the last election, add in the shock of Jody Wilson-Raybould being fired by Trudeau for opposing his corruption scandal, and add in the shock of the blackface photos. Andrew Scheer couldn't get the job done then. Incredibly, Erin O'Toole is doing worse, actually worse than ever. Here's the latest poll from Abacus. Now, I know one of their principals, David Coletto. He worked at the Sun News Network, good guy. The chairman of Abacus is a senior Liberal Party operative. Bruce Anderson is his name. So I discount some of what they do because he really shouldn't be allowed anywhere near a polling company that claims to be neutral or nonpartisan. But that said, other polling companies in recent months are saying the same thing. People just don't plan to vote for Erin O'Toole. So keep this on your screen for a bit. Here's from the Abacus poll. You can see that red line at the top, that's the Liberals. They're at 37% now. That's majority territory, depending on how the other parties divide up the spoils. The NDP have been bouncing around 18% forever, as you can see. That's the orange line. The Bloc looks strong in Quebec. It's at 9% in the polls nationally, but remember, you've got to basically quadruple that to properly reflect their strength in Quebec. And the Green Party is sagging, which is to Trudeau's benefit, especially in BC. But look at that dark blue line near the top. That's Erin O'Toole's Conservatives at 27%. Fourth poll in a row now that they've been falling. Lowest level for O'Toole since he was elected leader. Just to compare, even the hapless Andrew Scheer had 34% in the last election. In fact, he had more actual votes numerically than the Liberals, who had 33%, but Scheer just had them, lumped up. The Liberal vote was spread out better strategically, but now Erin O'Toole is literally 10 points behind. And it's not just Ontario and the Atlantic. Look at this. Here's them broken down by province or region. The NDP is looking strong in BC. I believe that. I think the Liberals hurt themselves by throwing out Jody Wilson-Raybould. I think Trudeau generally ignores the West. I think the province's provincial NDP government, while bad, isn't as awful as they could be. In fact, they've had the lightest touch in Canada for the lockdown, if you can believe it. So maybe that's redounding to the credit of the federal NDP. I'd like to say it's a three-way split there, and it sort of is, but really, the Conservatives are in third place there. Isn't that incredible? Third place in BC. Alberta, 39% for the Conservatives, 34% for the Trudeau Liberals. I remember when that number was 60% for the Conservatives. The Trudeau Liberals at 34% in Alberta. How is that even possible? Do I believe that Albertans love Justin Trudeau? I do not think so. I think they're just so disgusted with Erin O'Toole and his carbon tax and his woke cancel culture and his clear message that true conservatives are not welcome in the party. Seriously, Trudeau is within the margin of error of Erin O'Toole in Alberta, and why not? If you want a carbon tax, why not get it from Trudeau, who at least is honest about it, instead of from a flim-flam man like Erin O'Toole, who wants a carbon tax but lacks the ability to look you in the eye and tries to say, no, this is a carbon levy, it's totally different. What a weird sales pitch. He's losing. That's an excerpt from my daily show, The Ezra Levant Show. Every day I do a monologue on the news of the day, then I interview an interesting guest, and then I read my hate mail. You gotta subscribe. Go to rebelnews.com.